Hello, I'm Ellen Vince, coming today from Wheaton, Illinois, in the USA. Welcome to Impact, a podcast about how we can each bring about real change in the world and getting practical in making that happen.
And hello, I'm Clive Johnson, coming today from Roworth, Essex in the UK. A special welcome if you're listening for the first time, and a big thank you to our new subscribers. Each week, we look at one aspect of how we can connect our hearts to offer healing for others with our collective intention, prayers, and meditation, and go behind the headlines of a critical happening in our world that needs our attention right now.
In today's episode, we take one of these regular deep dives to more fully understand and tune in and maybe even practice something that many of us may know only a little about and see where we might hone in with our prayers and intentions. And as we record, it's May 20th, 2026.
Hopefully this is something that most of us do know something about, but it's good to be reminded about. I was just thinking, to some extent, some listeners will think today we are, what is that saying, which I never understand, telling grandma to suck how to suck eggs. Now,
That must be an English thing because
I always thought it came from the States because I've no idea what it refers to. Well, the idea is you're telling someone that knows this, it's part of their nature almost, and they've been doing it for years. But yeah, I've never quite understood where that term comes from.
No, I don't either. So,
No?
But I think it always is not bad to revisit this type of, this type of topic and remind ourselves because it's so easy to get pulled off track. And so even if you know it, it's not a bad reminder.
It's
Not a
exactly,
review, think of it as a review.
definitely. And there's a difference, of course, between knowing and actually doing. So if the reminder serves to actually say, well, yeah, actually, I'm reminded as to why this is important, and therefore perhaps I will be more mindful in putting it into
Amen.
practice.
Mm-hmm.
So this week we thought we'd turn attention to some of the practices of holding intention as we sometimes do. And at what might first sound like a selfish focus this week, we're reflecting on our own needs as intention holders and intercessors. Specifically, we are looking at the importance of taking care for ourselves. This carries a responsibility that can be easily overlooked, as we mentioned, especially when our intention focus is outward, wanting to give and see another benefited. As we'll see, this also ties in with this quarter's global healing response theme of being anchored. Holding intention, as we know, can be exhausting, but also engages us both in channeling the intense energy to will for something or someone to resonate with whatever it is we're yearning for, and typically ourselves possibly tasting something of the emotions that may be tied to the suffering that's motivating our prayer or intention. Even if this isn't quite what those we are praying for may be feeling themselves, in other words, we might not be truly empathizing, it's still energy that affects us. We may often talk about sending intention, but as we do, we are at all times generating or vibrating its signature frequency, so to speak. This is happening within us, and it involves intense, concentrated work. So I think we're already talking in terms that might be building up this reminder of why looking after ourselves matters, really.
Well, I just finished the book, Zen and the Art of Saving the Planet by Thich Nhat Hanh.
Oh, yes.
And it's fabulous. Recommend it to our listeners. And one of the points at the beginning of the book is interbeing, that everything within us is outside of us.
Yes.
And it's not necessarily that we're all connected, it's that we are each other. We are everything. And when you think of it that way, it's critical that the peace exists within us because it will affect what's outside. And we know our intentions are stronger when we're coherent individually and the energy that we exude becomes stronger. So it is important to take care of ourselves and, be responsible, energetic responsibility.
Yes.
As the heart math has coined that term is part of this too.
So as he says, we need to interbe.
Interbeing, yeah.
We need to interbe.
Yeah. What's inside is outside. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, some who engage in intention work may also practice Tonglen, the Buddhist practice of breathing in the suffering of others and transforming it through deep compassion into something beautiful. With Tonglen, the intention is to exchange the self and other. The word itself is formed from Tong, meaning giving or sending, and Len, defined as taking or receiving. And I have to say, I use this practice when I swim. I
Wow.
have a mild meditation that I do, and part of it involves Tonglen because when you swim, you have to breathe in and
Yeah.
you breathe out the bubbles into the water.
Wow.
So I have a circle of people and, my beloved and my family and my community and I practice the Tonglen with each length that I
Oh,
swim.
wonderful. Wow. Wow.
Mhm.
That's quite something.
So in practice, the breath is used as a vehicle for this action of taking and sending. On the in breath, a practitioner imagines taking in the pain, fear, or confusion of others, perhaps visualizing this as dark, heavy smoke or heat, with the heartfelt wish that the suffering be relieved. On the out breath, they imagine sending out light, space, peace, love, or whatever is most needed, offering their own happiness and desire for the highest good to the other. While we may not all consciously practice Tonglen when we hold intention, it strikes us that in one sense, we all breathe in the energies we are holding with an intention as we connect with the focus of our intention and seek to empathize with those in our heart space. We then breathe out what we will as loving kindness. In fact, we cannot avoid becoming connected with the energies that motivate our yearning. In other words, what pulls at our heartstrings and causes us to feel a desire to send intention in the first place.
Yeah, it's almost as though we're engaging in this practice, whether we know it or not, to a degree,
Yes.
isn't it? When we are
Yeah.
really connecting with another individual and especially taking time to become coherent with that intention.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you have to be mindful to not to, a big part of this is flow and letting it flow through you,
Mm.
not holding on to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, then the love flowing back out. So kind of what I picture when I'm breathing in the pain of someone or just anything they might be feeling that's not positive, it's like and then it goes out my back and then if the love flows through to wash it out into the person
And if
because
you're
you don't want to
engaged,
hold on to the bad.
no. And I was just thinking about the action of swimming. Wow.
Mhm.
That, you are with the breathing, as you say, you're not holding on. You can't, can you? So
Mm-mm.
for
Yeah,
very
it's
long.
perfect.
So
Yep.
yeah, wonderful. So maybe there's some other activities. Running, I guess, might be another one potentially
Mhm.
that folks can engage with. I must admit, I'm much more in the sitting meditation department on this one, but there we go.
Mm.
Now, we've spoken, of course, many times about the nature of entanglement, particularly focusing on the concept as it's described within quantum physics. This, as I'm sure most listeners will know, is the curious phenomena that reveals we can connect at a subatomic level to another entity, irrespective of where that entity may be physically located. As a reminder, in quantum theory, particles such as electrons or photons can be prepared in such a way that their properties, so we're talking here about things like spin or polarization,
Mhm.
aren't individually well defined, while the correlations between them are. When such a pair is entangled, any measurement outcome of one of the items is strongly correlated with the outcome of the other. When we appeal very directly to the hearts and minds of others, there's a strong probability that entanglement can occur. This may be all the more the case where someone is suffering deeply and desperately desires compassionate support from another, reaching out, as it were, for connection and being receptive when it's offered. So almost like sending out a distress signal to the world, isn't it? All of this may be going on at an unconscious level. However, even while we may be unaware of our touching in with the emotions of another person, we may yet be taking at least some of their emotion on board. And again, this all brings home to us the need to let go of anything that doesn't serve us before we close out our practice.
And, I think it's not even, we shouldn't forget to ask for protection too,
Oh,
from, especially if you're in a space that might have some energies that don't serve us, from your whatever your higher power
mm,
is, ask
mm,
for, or your higher self, ask for protection as you're doing this work.
mm, absolutely.
Because this work can be exhausting, as many of us will know. Sustaining intention itself requires energy, calling upon the deep source within us, or from what some may know as universal consciousness or the divine, to receive what is the very powerful energy of loving kindness. Even though we may be physically still, intense longing or yearning has a strong emotional charge. We also expend energy maintaining heart brain coherence during our practice. Firstly, coming into coherence, then staying mindful to check that our mind isn't wandering onto other things, and continually resolving to focus intention in our heart. Prayer, especially when heartfelt and sustained, similarly focuses emotion and attention. As the late Islamic scholar Sheikh Mohammed al Ghazali once said, in prayer, human beings seek to augment their finite energy by addressing themselves to the infinite source of all energy. When we pray, we link ourselves with the inexhaustible motive power that spins the universe. We pray that a part of this power be apportioned to our needs, or we might say, the needs of others.
Mm.
Without taking time for self-care. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just really taken by that quote from Al Ghazali.
Mhm,
Really, really
mhm.
something, isn't it? To
It's
consider
beautiful.
this idea that we are again
And
linking ourselves with the inexhaustible,
yeah.
unlimited motive power that spins the universe. Wow.
And if we're in coherence and we know the torus field that is like the donut that surrounds our body of energy that we put out from our heart, the electromagnetic energy, it does come back to us. So as we're putting
Mm.
out peace and love, it comes back to us. So when we're in that coherent state, we do get filled back up again and we get centered and stuff. It's when we let ourselves be off center and not practicing these things, right?
It absolutely, and we're in flow as well, aren't
Yeah.
we?
Yeah.
I'm writing at the moment quite a lot about the idea of masculine and feminine principles as they're described, cosmic forces essentially,
Mhm.
and quite often they get, in my way, unsatisfactorily reduced to labels. So masculine is spoken of as being, we're not talking about male female here, but we're talking about these
Right.
cosmic principles as being directive, as providing structure, as being very clear in its focus, whereas the feminine is more about creation, nurturing, allowing to be, if you like, going with the flow. But I think when we think of our role as Al Ghazali describes it, we are engaging in both. We are bringing both together, which is usually the key actually to make anything happen. Is you need both
Beautiful. The
polarities to play
balance.
their part.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
So without taking time for self-care, the very act of giving can become quite depleting if you're not centered. What isn't consciously released may be unconsciously retained, and this can show itself in subtle ways. A lingering heaviness at a time of holding intention, an unexpected irritability, or a sense of fatigue that rest alone does not resolve. At times, there may be a blurring of boundaries where others' emotional or energetic states begins to feel indistinguishable from our own. And that's where the protection
Mm,
can come in.
yeah.
This may especially be the case if we've taken time to envision and connect with the situation or suffering of other, as we routinely do in contemplative practice. We may not grieve as much as those who are grieving or be able to properly empathize with all, but nonetheless, we do grieve and we do sense something of their suffering. Over time, this accumulation can dull perception, cloud intuition, and erode the clarity that intention work depends on. For this reason, we believe that when we hold intention, self care isn't an optional extra, it is necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to remember that.
We do.
And
We do.
and I think today, in the way we're bombarded with news and the crazy things that are happening, and even, even the energy of having to sort out what's true and what's fake, AI or whatever, is that takes energy
Yes.
to figure out.
Yes, absolutely. This also takes time, doesn't it? It at least takes a little bit of time. It doesn't need to take a lot of time. I think that's another thing we need to remind ourselves,
Good
really.
point. That's a good
This
point,
is
Glenn.
another minute or two added on to my practice, maybe a couple more, which actually is going to pay back hugely in terms of preventing me from being
Mhm.
distracted from the potential negative effects that can come by holding energy. So it's time well spent, as is nearly always the case with any spiritual practice, I believe.
Well, and intention is 9/10 of the process, right? I mean, I'm not intention, awareness. Being aware of this is 9/10 of the process too, if you just realize
It
it.
is, and I was actually thinking of the practice that, or a practice that you teach, contemplative labyrinth activism, where
Mhm,
there is really a great opportunity to let go, and is indeed a part of
mhm,
what is going on.
mhm,
Once you've released the intention, the idea is, well, we come to the center of a labyrinth, we've released that intention, and then we are returning, which takes time. It takes a
mhm.
little time, and there's an opportunity, obviously, to give thanks, and to acknowledge that what's been released has been given, been done. But this whole sense of, yeah, I need to attend to myself as well. That can come into this, and this
Well, and
releasing process. And
it's releasing it with the trust and the image that whatever your attention is has already happened.
yes,
So, it's easier to let go and to embody the feeling that it's happened, and that is a way of
mm,
of releasing the other emotion.
indeed. So I'm no longer holding this. Essentially, I'm
Mhm.
releasing myself as well as the intention has been
Right.
released.
With the
Fantastic.
trust that it's happening,
Yep.
like, "Oh, yep,
Mm,
yep, good, done," that
perfect.
the universe is taking care of that, and that gives it more energy. That
Mm,
actually gives your intention more energy.
yeah. Wonderful. So, if this isn't clear enough already, and
Mm,
I'm sure, again, many out there will know this very well, how we end a session is then vitally important. We need to allow ourselves time to rest after our practice, or at least immediately before rushing back into busy activity. This process of clearing, as it's sometimes known by folk who practice healing and energetic work, involves clearing energetic blocks or congestion in our aura, chakra, or other body fields that need to be dissolved so that energy can flow more freely. Again, this idea of not holding on to what's no longer serving us, really. This might begin with a quiet inward acknowledgement, saying to ourselves that the work is done, our intention heard, as we were just saying,
mhm. Yes.
giving thanks for what's come to be. A moment of gratitude, whether offered silently or spoken, can gently seal our encounter with the object of our intention. Then we might consciously release the intense and sometimes grieving energies that we may have carried. We will that whatever is no longer serving us leaves our entire being, perhaps using a form of words that expresses this, what is meaningful for you. Simply ask that you will be released from any energy that you are not meant to carry, that any energy, emotional burden that does not belong is allowed to return to its rightful place. This needn't be forceful. A simple intention is enough, sometimes supported by an image, such as light dissolving what remains, or perhaps seeing that smoke. We're talking about the dark smoke of Tonglen, just seeing
Eh,
that smoke emerging and dissipating. From there, our attention can come back to the body. We notice our breath, we feel the weight of our body, perhaps rub our hands together or press our feet into the ground. These kinds of small gestures can re anchor awareness in the present moment, restoring our sense of embodiment and physical presence in the world. It can also be helpful to re-establish a sense of boundaries, an awareness where one ends and another begins. Some experience this as a field of light or presence surrounding the body, offering both connection and distinction. We simply just need to be aware of who we are and where we are within our bodies. Finally, we gradually return to our normal world. Rather than being startled by sudden sounds and sensations, as though being starkly woken up by a bang, which can be unsettling and troubling, we gradually notice what's going on around us. And at some point, if we've closed our eyes during our practice, we deliberately open them as an indication of coming back into the room where we are. I often like to think of closing and opening the eyes, obviously depending what practice you're doing, as kind of telling yourself, I'm crossing a threshold.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going into what for me is a sacred space, or I'm coming out back into the normal world. And of course, rather than rushing into conversation, picking up a mobile phone, other devices, or getting involved in busy tasks, a moment of stillness allows the whole nervous system to settle. In this way, the transition becomes gentle rather than abrupt. Over time, such practices do more than prevent depletion. They cultivate a steadiness, a way of being present without becoming entangled, open without becoming overwhelmed. They also, of course, help anchor us, which, as regular listeners might remember, is a topic we covered just a few weeks ago to tie in with this quarter's Global Healing Response focus on anchoring. The link for that episode is in the show notes if you didn't catch it. And in this, the quality of our offering itself is transformed, and we remain strong and available for future intention work, which is another important reminder, isn't it? If we don't do
Right.
this, we get depleted and
Right.
exhausted. We're not going to be effective, well, as effective going forward. The clearest channel, of course, is one that is cared for.
I think it's important to say that you're also modeling something for those around you, your self-care. And you will have an impact on those around you if they see
Mm,
you doing this too. So
absolutely.
easy to forget.
Yeah.
So this week, rather than honing in on specific intentions and prayers as we usually do, we thought we'd walk through a possible closing practice that you might like to come back to if you prefer guidance for this. We'll put a bookmark for this part in the show notes. Of course, normally you'd come to this point after holding intention, but for now, take a moment to center, become present, connect with your core as though you were engaged in deep prayer or holding intention. Now, as this time of intention holding or prayer comes to a close, allow yourself to pause just for a moment. Gently become aware of your breath. There's no need to change it. Simply notice the natural rhythm of breathing in and breathing out. Let that breath begin to anchor you back into your body. And now, inwardly acknowledge this time of offering is complete. You might wish to silently say, "Thank you for whatever you have given and may have received." Very gently begin a process of release. Anything that you may have taken on, any emotion, any energy, any weight that does not belong to you, simply allow it to fall away. There's nothing to push, nothing to force. Just quietly say to yourself or intend, "What is not mine, I release." If it helps, you might imagine a soft light moving through and around you, clearing, loosening, dissolving anything that remains. Let it pass through like a breeze, leaving you clear and settled. Now, bring your awareness more fully into your body. Notice the points of contact you have with the physical world, your feet on the ground, your body being supported beneath you, your hands resting wherever they are. You might gently press your feet into the floor or simply move your fingers just to reawaken your physical sensations. Feel the steadiness of your own presence. And now sense the natural boundary of your being, not as something rigid, but as a quiet clarity, a recognition of yourself as being whole, and distinct. Some experience this as a field of light or awareness around the body, holding you gently without closing you off. Rest here for a moment, breathing, being present, returning to yourself. When you're ready, allow your awareness to widen. Begin to notice the space around you, the sounds in the room, the simple fact of being where you are. Take your time. There's no rush. You have given, and now you have returned. Open your eyes, and from this place of steadiness, you can gently continue with your day.
And this kind of practice, as you become more familiar with it, or perhaps I'm sure many listeners already are very familiar with it, for some of us, doesn't always need a form of words, does it? We know what the intention is with what's going on here, this whole process of release. But if you're not familiar with it, I think it, personally, I've in the past found it very helpful to at least start perhaps with some guidance. So,
Yeah, you have to start, no pun intended, intentionally, and then it becomes embodied. And you probably, like you said, will be able to do it naturally in moments.
exactly. So, once again, we'll put the bookmark for this. If this kind of approach helps, there will be others that you might find, but this is one offering. So this week, as we reflect on the necessity of self-care when engaging in intense prayer and intention holding, we suggest holding as our main intention. I resolve to always take time to release energies that don't serve me when completing my intention practice, remembering to take care of myself. I recognize that this isn't a selfish action, but necessary not only for my own well-being, but so that I may continue to remain strong and effective in my intention holding for others. Please join us in holding this.
Well, that about wraps it up for this episode. Remember, you can connect with us in the Facebook group and for live intention holding in Clive's daily Insight Timer offerings, and with me in the Labyrinth Activist Network's Zoom calls. Details of how to hook up with these are in our show notes. Look out too for our next special topic episode, which we'll be releasing in the next few days. Thank you for listening and for sharing with us and holding intentions. We look forward to connecting again next time. And in the meantime,
Thank you. Go well. Stay safe.
and remember, we're more powerful together.
Impact is presented by Ellen Binns and Clive Johnson and produced by Impact Productions. Our theme music is by Chris Collins and our logo artwork is by Auto Classic. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible or your favorite podcast provider. We're a non-commercial podcast dedicated to people of any faith tradition or none who yearn for healing in our troubled world. Please pass on the word so others may join us in making an impact. Thank you for listening.